What appealed to you about being in the Army?
Well, I think it was the moving about. I like moving about and getting to different places and seeing. Because remember, I went into travel, and I wanted to travel and I wanted to see things. It was also meeting different people and working closely with the surgeons and being involved in some of the things that were going on in medicine, such as the ethylene oxide sterilization aeration project. I was involved in working with that. And there was a group of people in New York who were working with that, and I went up there and worked with them on that and helped rewrite.
Describe that.
That was when we were gas sterilizing a variety of equipment, some of which was metal and some of which was made out of different types of material. And we were noticing that some of the patients were getting some type of funny conditions afterward, sloughing of areas and the things were like something was burning them or had burned them or something. And so the people in New York were working on that, and I don't know who called me about it, but someone didn't ask me if I wanted to go up and talk to them about it. So I did, and I got involved with that project with them. And out of that, we wrote aeration process and developed the length of time things that had to be aerated in order to be safe for use.
So you really enjoyed the medical scientific part of your work and the advances.
Yeah, well, you know, how things could change and what that meant, and what part you could play in making sure that it's for the safety of the patient's fast recovery, and the whole 9 yards in terms of the patient, the client. And because that's where I am. I'm really at the patient. This is what I'm about, is the patient. And the more I learned, the more I needed to know that I had to be even more of a patient advocate. And what I knew, I needed to ask questions. I needed to say, well, is there something we can do about that? And find out if there is something. And then I found there were physicians and other people who were interested in doing things and were doing things. And, you know, call them up and ask them, can I come and talk to you? And sure, and they talk to you. They tell you what's going on, and sometimes invite you to participate with them in the research process. So that was very exciting to me because it added another dimension to your work. You're not just there handing out instruments and stuff like that. You were really concerned and involved in what was happening to the patient.
And you mentioned that you were particularly interested in traveling, and that you got to go to both. You were stationed in both Japan and Korea, right?
I was, Japan, Korea. That was my 2 overseas assignments, and and then I was in Washington State, and I was in California. I was in California twice, wasn't I? Twice. Anyhow, I was in California at Letterman, and then I went back to Texas to help put together that inflatable hospital that went to Vietnam. I got sick, or I would have been over there too, but I got sick. I got a lung abscess working in that dusty, dirty warehouse. I guess that's what did it. But nevertheless, I was diagnosed early and got it taken care of, and actually coughed the daggone thing up and was no longer there. But they kept me on a regime of medications for about a month, and then I was transferred to Valley Forge, and they were having a problem with the operating room there, not the operating room, the central service. So that was the supply area where you sterilize all the equipment, central service was called, within the hospital. And so I went over there and I helped get that organized, and then they called me and said I was going back to Washington, and I said, now I've been to Walter Reed twice, where am I going this time? And they said research and development. I said, oh, good. What's that? But what's that? And as a result, I got to work in R&D in helping to determine what kind of sterilization equipment could be used in the field and how it would be used. But I was there I can't remember how many years I was there, a number of years. And then I got selected to go get my doctorate. And so...
now, as you got promoted and moved more and more into these other areas like R&D, weren't you being moved more and more away from your first love, which is patient care, hands-on patient care? No.
You see, hands-on is fine, but there's so much else that has to be done that directly relates to patient care. And you need to be involved in that process, because then it makes what's going on at the bedside where the hands-on easier. And the best place actually is to be at the starting point where they're developing things and saying this will do and that will do and that won't do. And so that you're in there and hearing what that thinking is and understanding it. And then when you test it, you can say, well, that's what they said, but it's not working. And then you can find out why it's not working. So you have a better sense of things that are new coming on the market when you're involved in the actual development of it, I think.